from wherever you're watching us on this 6th day of February 2024. Good evening and a very warm welcome to the Daily Report. My name is George Maringa. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Rhoda Nyamai. As is the norm, every Tuesday we bring you the People's Court. Now, over the weekend, we did see what happened, especially in Embakasi, and that forms the discussion tonight on the People's Court.
The 1st of February, that was a Thursday, that played out in Embakasi, pretty much of a tragedy that reminds us of the numerous other cases that we've had in relation to gas in the country, and just, getting us to a point where we need to understand how do we manage ourselves such that we avoid such occurrences moving on into the future. Reminds us of the Sachem 1 cases, reminds us of the numerous reports that various stations have looked at in relation to how we handle gas in the country. Indeed, a conversation that we cannot miss out to discuss and expound and understand where are we at? How do we soldier on in a better way?
Absolutely. And as you sit in your home, in your hotel, or in your place of work, let us remember the families whose lives have been obliterated as a result of this tragedy, whose livelihoods have totally been transformed. New month, new challenges. We're going to look into that, and particularly, what lessons can we learn from what is now known as the Embakasi gas tragedy. But first,
the highlights.
The highlights.
Tonight.
And this illicit brew, we are suspecting that it must have had either no.
Illegal alcohol claims the lives of 6 people in Mwea as 10 others lose their eyesight.
Ila jamii hapa ipewe ridhaa ya shilingi milioni 500 shilingi laki tano.
Azimio leader Raila Odinga wants Embakasi gas explosion victims to be compensated. This as key suspects have been arraigned. And governors declare stalemate on division of revenue formula talks. Our SMS lines are open. Start with your name, where you're watching us from, followed by your question or comment regarding the show tonight. On X, formerly Twitter, at TV47 News, at Muyakane, at Linda_Alela, or at George Maringa_. Use the hashtag Daily Report, hashtag People's Court. We thank you for choosing TV47 to inform you. To our top story tonight, where 6 people have died, with 10 others battling with partial blindness after they consumed illicit liquor in Mwea, Bunga County. Kirinyaga Health CEC George Karoki says, based on the symptoms displayed by the victims, it is likely that the illicit brew contained ethanol. And as Paul Kirobi now reports, residents claim the sale of illegal alcohol laced with ethanol is on the rise in the area.
Drone shots. Before yake hema. No degita.
Now, ODM leader Raila Odinga has urged the government to offer compensation of 500,000 shillings to each victim of the Embakasi gas explosion, along with the house under the Affordable Housing Project. Raila criticized the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, for its alleged failure to shut down the gas company before the tragedy occurred. This as Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja ordered the closure of gas business that are 200 meters from the residential areas. Sheila Chelangat with more details.
The opposition leader Raila Odinga turned the hit on the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, holding it responsible for permitting the plant's operation in a residential area.
Watu wengi wamelala kwa kazi, wamelala kazini, wanangorota na wananchi wako kwa hatari.
This as he called on the government to compensate the victims of the explosion.
Kila jamii hapa ipewe ridhaa ya shilingi milioni 500,000, shilingi laki 500,000, 500,000 kila jamii. Hiyo itawezesha hao watu kwenda kuanza maisha mapya.
And as the investigations into the matter continues, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations is on the hunt for 5 other suspects still at large in connection with the explosion.
Hiyo uchunguzi haitaki chukue zaidi ya masaa 48. Tayari unajua makosa iko wapi, nani na nani na nani.
Meanwhile, 4 suspects linked to the gas explosion within the premises of Maxis Energy Limited were arraigned before Magistrate Dolphina Alego. The 4, Derek Kimathi, Joseph Makau, David Walunya Ongare, and Marian Mutete Kioko will be facing charges on counts of murder, conspiracy to commit a felony, negligence acts, causing harm, and abuse of office. In their application to court, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations based in Embakasi sought to have the suspects remanded for 21 more days to allow them conclude investigations into the matter. The Embakasi gas explosion claimed the lives of 6 people, with tens of others nursing injuries. Sheila Chelangat for TV 47.
Thank you, Sheila, for that. The Council of Governors now says recent talks on the revenue sharing with the stakeholders from the national government have hit a dead end. This development follows the establishment of a task force comprised of COG members along with representatives from the National Treasury and the Commission on Revenue Allocation, CRA, tasked with addressing the matter. In a statement, COG Governor, who is also Kirinyaga Governor, COG Chair rather, who is also Kirinyaga Governor Anwe Goro, urged the national government to review its stance on providing adequate funding for devolution. Mike Kagwongo with the details.
Your Excellency, good morning.
No consensus was reached on the distribution of funds for the 2024-2025 fiscal year at the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council IBEC meeting, chaired by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on January 29th. To address this, the matter was forwarded to a task committee comprising representatives from the Council of Governors, the Commission on Revenue Allocation, and the Treasury during the 22nd Ordinary Session of IBEC. According to COG Chairperson Anwe Goro, the Treasury proposed an equal share of 391 billion shillings, while CRA insisted on 398.14 billion shillings. In the interim, COG suggested the establishment of a board maintenance levy fund with 10.52 billion shillings and an equitable share of 339.5 billion shillings. As a result, COG expressed concerns that the delay will affect the disbursement of the housing levy, compliance with the new social health fund, and inflation concerns due to the declining value of the shilling. The governors also proposed the provision of an allocation towards county employees' annual salary incremental cost and the need for a commensurate adjustment for revenue growth.
National government inachukua zaidi ya 80 kwa 100, na sisi kisheria tunatakiwa tuchukue 15%, lakini hata hii wanapendekeza, ina maana kwamba tukipiga hesabu tunaona kwamba tunapata 13.2.
Counties have faced criticisms for their spending habits, leading to widespread embezzlement of public funds during challenging financial times. According to the Controller of Budget, development expenses for the fiscal year ending in June 2022 amounted to 98.4 billion shillings, just 25% of overall expenses. Despite the national government's efforts to create significant revenue avenues, most counties have not met their own source revenue goals. Only 4 out of 47 counties achieved these in the fiscal year ending in June 2023, highlighting challenges in income collection. According to data released by Treasury late last year, only Baringo, Homa Bay, Kitui and Lamu achieved their goals, with coastal counties achieving 119% above the goal.
Wakati wa kuitisha own source revenue, ni sharti serikali yoyote ile ikaweza kufanya kitu ambacho tunaita balancing. Kwa sababu ukiitisha zaidi, basi utamnyanyasa yule ambaye anaitishwa.
During the previous financial year, the national government disbursed a total of 399.6 billion shillings to counties, marking the first time units received their overdue funds before the fiscal year ends. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mike, for that. The families of Gladys Wanjiku and Felista Nyambeke have expressed concerns about the well-being and potential mistreatment of their relatives in Saudi Arabia. Both women traveled to work as domestic workers in Saudi Arabia, but their whereabouts have been unknown and there has been no communication with their families for nearly 2 years. According to their family members, during their last conversation with their daughters, they were unwell without receiving any medical attention. Our reporter Moiga William highlights the plight of these families.
Zipporah Wanjiru struggled to hold back her tears as she watched the TikTok video, the only proof she had of her second-born daughter Gladys Wanjiku's existence.
Your people want to see you, okay?
Wanjiku had traveled to Saudi Arabia to work as a domestic worker, and in the video, under the username Vivida, she appears bedridden with a tube attached to her nose.
Siku ile aliongea, anisema, "Mam, niombeeni Mungu tu. Hii pesa nasukuma inaenda tu OC." Nikamwambia Mungu atakusaidia, ni kama nataka, kama nikuulizo kwangu gerudi, tujue vitu tutafanya, tuende hospitali hapa Kenyatta, nikupeleke Kenyatta.
Wanjiru reveals that she last contacted her daughter Wanjiku on December 25th, 2019, when Wanjiku disclosed her illness. A medical report from Riyadh First Health dated September 12th, 2022 showed that Wanjiku had a dislocated right hip joint, exposed right trochanteric with fluid leakage, TB, and multiple bed sores, rendering her bedridden for a year.
Wanjiku akaniambia akashindwa na kuongea kutoka hapo mpaka saa hii. Sasa tukarusio hiyo umeona, tukaona kwa ikatumwa hivi. Nikaona hivi nilikuwa tu nikaona hii ni mtoto yangu. Atarudi.
Tears, sorrow and fear is also the case in the family of 42-year-old Felista Nyambeke. The mother of 3 also traveled to Saudi Arabia on December 12th, 2021. The last communication her family received from her was in 2022, where she talked about her suffering and distress at her workplace.
Hey, Uncle, I am suffering. I don't know how I'll get out of here. They're saying they will kill me.
Siku hiyo ilikuwa mwezi wa 3 karibu wa 4. Tukafumulia akamaliza. Kuanzia hapo tumpigia simu ashiki.
Both families have faced hurdles in bringing their daughters back home despite seeking help from government and travel agencies.
Ilipotea huko hata vitu yake. Lakini hata vitu si haja, paye tu arudi.
A government report in 2021 revealed that 89 Kenyans had died in Saudi Arabia in a span of 2 years. In 2023, the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs visited Saudi Arabia, promising actions to alleviate the suffering of Kenyan workers there. Human rights organization Haki Africa is now threatening to intervene if the relevant ministries fail to address the issue within 7 days.
You are being paid because of them, to take care of them, to make sure that their welfare is guaranteed, that any issue arising from their survival there is looked into. Because you people are very happy when they remit back money.
Moige William, TV 47.
Thank you, Moige, for that, and we hope these families get their most needed answers. Now, the Private Security Regulatory Authority has revoked operating licenses for 9 firms due to violations of different regulations. This move comes in the wake of PSRA's decision to increase the minimum wage for security guards employed by private security firms to 30,000 Kenya shillings. Kisewa Emory with more.
The Private Security Regulatory Authority, the PSRA, under the leadership of Fazul Mohammed, made a decisive move last night by revoking the licenses of 9 private security companies due to the non-compliance with regulations. According to the statement released by the PSRA, the reasons for the license cancellations include breaching the provisions of the Private Security Regulation Act No. 13 of 2016, violating the terms and conditions of their registration certificates as corporate private security service providers, and failure to adhere to minimum wage regulations. The Kenya National Private Security Workers Union, led by Secretary General Isaac Kandabwa, says he supports the Private Security Regulatory Authority decree setting the minimum wage at 30,000 shillings.
Fazul amefanya yake kama regulator, na hiyo ndio kazi yake. Kwani wanataka Fazul akae kufisha kunyenge chai akienda nyumbani? Whatever he has done is what he's supposed to be doing kama regulator. Kuna stories zingine pale. Na yeye si mtu wa kunegotiate. Bwana employer, mimi nataka pesa. Mimi sitaki story. Hii MOU lazima iongee mambo ya na hatuendi chini yale mambo Fazul amesema. Fazul amepeana tu basic, baseline. Lakini hatuwezi sema ya kwamba shilingi 30,000 wewe unajua. Nairobi, what is 30,000? We need even more.
This follows a joint statement by the Kenya Security Industry Association, the KSIA, and the Protective and Security Association, which argue that the minimum wage order lacks legal basis and is deemed illegal.
No one will blackmail us. No one will intimidate us. We have seen enough of these things. So now we are saying that directive is illegal. It is of zero consequence. We have asked our members to completely ignore it.
There is also internal conflict within the Kenya Security Industry Association, as members disowned the joint statement the very next day, saying that they were open to dialogue with relevant authorities on the minimum wage issue.
Kuna kikundi ambaye inajiita KSIA. Wameenda kutoa press statement ndoko Serena. Nataka kuambia kila mtu hapa kwamba hiyo kikundi si KSIA.
The Cabinet Secretary for Labour, Florence Bore, in a statement released by her ministry, disowned the notice issued by the Director General of the Private Security Regulatory Authority, Fazul Mohammed, directing that minimum security guards be paid a minimum gross pay of 30,000 shillings.
When our business interests are threatened.
Kisewa Emory, TV47.
Thank you, Emery, for that. As the world marks International Day of Zero Tolerance Against Female Genital Mutilation, FGM, Kenya continues to combat this harmful practice over 2 decades later. And as Elizabeth Atieno now reports, educating the girl child has been identified as the solution to ending the retrogressive culture that continues to kill the dreams of women in some parts of the country. Take a look.
In the heart of Tiaty constituency, Bunga County, we meet Dr. Rebecca Lomo, a trailblazer among the Pokot community as one of the first PhD graduates. Her achievement stands as a testament to sheer determination overcoming the barriers imposed by retrogressive cultural practices such as female genital mutilation and early marriages.
Remember at primary school, out of around 30 students that we did our KCP in 1997, only 2 girls managed to go to secondary school. Myself and my classmate Salika, who is now a prison officer. It was not easy at all. Early marriages is a big challenge facing girl child. I remember then most of my classmates were married off at class 6. Some dropped, they underwent FGM, and the next thing was marriage.
Because we are seeing cases whereby a 6-year-old girl is being circumcised, then she's married off. So you have curtailed a journey for education.
Some of the communities leading in FGM prevalence include the Somali, Samburu, Kisii, and Maasai. In Elgeyo Marakwet County, a police officer was murdered while attempting to intervene to stop FGM practice. This incident drew strong condemnation from Gender CS Aisha Jumwa, who also warned local chiefs against protecting the perpetrators.
Rais amekuwa very specific na akasema machief, kumaanisha katika eneo lako kama kuna watu wana practice FGM inatakikana wewe chief pamoja na wale watu wanafanya, nyote muhame.
In Kisii County, a call was made to the government to set aside resources that will help fund the sensitization programs that will help educate parents and locals on the dangers of FGM.
So alternative rites of passage is basically gimmicking the traditional rites of passage, but not necessarily following the structures.
County government of Kisii has worked on 3 policies that are very critical in this direction. One is a child protection and welfare policy. We've also worked on the gender policy and also the youth policy.
More than 200 million girls and women globally have undergone FGM, with approximately 4.4 million girls at risk annually. This equates to more than 12,000 cases every day. Over the last 3 decades, the prevalence of FGM has declined globally. Today, a girl is 1/3 less likely to undergo FGM than 30 years ago. For instance, in Kenya, the rate of FGM has reduced over time from the 38% prevalence reported in 1998 to 15% in 2022. Some of the complications brought by FGM include severe pain, excessive bleeding, difficulty in passing urine, among others. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that. 6 people have died, with 10 others battling with partial blindness after they consumed illicit liquor in Mwea, Kirinyaga County. Kirinyaga Health CEC George Karoki says, based on the symptoms displayed by the victims, it is likely that the illicit brew contained ethanol. And as Paul Kirobi reports, residents claim sale of illegal alcohol laced with ethanol is on the rise in the area.
A somber mood engulfed Kangai town in Mwea, Kirinyaga County as residents grapple with the tragic news of their loved ones falling victim to illegal brew from a local establishment known as California Pub. 6 people have been confirmed dead and tens of others experiencing blood vision. According to the Kirinyaga County CEC for Health, George Karoki, the illicit brew contained lethal levels of ethanol, resulting in blood vision and liver diseases.
While we know very well that this kind of chemical will cause issues in the liver, to cause what we call liver cirrhosis, and even cause other nervous system problems. And therefore that is why sometimes they come up with that kind of a sign where they cannot be able to see well. And we want to thank our department's officers who took it very seriously, and they have been able to manage about 6 of these particular patients who were suffering this.
Karoki disclosed that those suffering from blood vision were promptly rushed to the nearby Njengas dispensary, where they received immediate treatment. Fortunately, all of them regained their eyesight upon treatment. However, one patient's condition worsened beyond the dispensary's capacity, necessitating urgent transfer to Kerogoyan General Hospital, where he passed away.
Wasasi wengi walikufa jana, leo walikufa, hata Kirugoya walikufa, hata hapa Kalia walikufa, 8. Sijui tutapeleka wapi watoto wetu, tutapeleka wapi, tutaenda wapi?
Mwea West Deputy County Commissioner Teresia Mwangi expressed her frustration in curbing the illicit brew in the area, indicating that while the county's licensing authority had fulfilled its obligations, their efforts were undermined by the Baricho Law Court. Mwangi lamented that despite the California bar owner having a pending case in court and being out on bond, the establishment continued to operate, leading to this tragic incident.
Kuna wakati tulimshika na ethanol ilikiwa kwa mitungi, tukapeleka kotini na ikasemekana tupeane vifaa zenye zinatumika kutengeneza hiyo pombe. So hiyo kesi pia ikaaguka hivyo. Kuna wakati pia tumemstaki kwa sababu ya operation ya bar bila license. Tukabeba pombe yake yote tukapeleka kotini, tukapewa court order tumrudishie pombe yake.
The heart-wrenching accounts of residents such as Soforo Anyawira, whose brother is a victim, called for urgent intervention from the government, demanding swift and decisive action to prevent such tragedies from recurring.
Kuna mburadhangu yako hapa na amekunywa na aoni, macho imepotea. Sasa tunauliza hii pombe itatufikisha wapi na aoni?
Paul Kirobi, TV 47.
Thank you, Paul, for that. Bunga County residents have accused security agencies of laxity following the tragic incident where a businesswoman was fatally shot by a gang last night at 8 p.m. The victim, who owned an M-Pesa shop and a salon along Chetambe Street on Bungoma Mumias Road, was attacked by an armed gang, and residents have expressed their concerns over the runaway insecurity, urging the government to intervene.
Incidents of insecurity in Chetambe area of Bungoma town continue to rise. A business lady was brutally murdered last night on the Bungoma Mumias Road, with the assailants fleeing with an undisclosed sum of money.
Risasi ililia hapa mara tatu. Sasa kulia mara tatu sisi tukatoka hivyo. Ndio kuja tukapata ni wezi wameingia hapa. Na waliingia kawa wamezima lights. Kuzima hivyo lights wakaanza kukorofishana, wakachukua pesa ilikuwa. Sasa wakiwa kwenye harakati waambiwe mbaba awatumie pesa yako nayo kwa account, ndio wakaanza kukorofishana.
Walikuwa wawili, mmoja akapika mwenzake risasi akapaki ndani, alikuwa anafikiria anapika mzee. Mama alitoka mlango wa nyuma. Mama alipotoka mlango wa nyuma ndio jamaa akamwona akampika risasi.
Wale majambazi walikuwa wamekuja na wamejami site.
The suspected gang inadvertently killed one of their own, who subsequently faced mob justice from enraged residents. These residents have criticized security agencies for what they say is negligence and inaction when called upon for assistance.
Hapa karibu kuna polisi wanalinda hapo. Hata wao wangekuja waone, au walitulia tu huko penye walikuwa.
Hata ukajiuliza hata kama polisi ingekuwa karibu hapa, hawa watu wangewashika kwa haraka sana. Sasa tunaomba serikali yetu ya Kenya itusaidie ulinzi katika Bungoma hili.
Wasaidie usalama hapa Bungoma. Vitu kama hii tutaki kuona ikitendeka.
Police have launched a probe into the matter. Wanji Sustin, TV47, Bungoma.
Let's make sense of the sense, and transport sector associations and representatives have issued a 21-day ultimatum to the government to halt any plans geared towards tolling major public highways, saying the alternative presented through feeder roads will destabilize all movement in the country. Motorist Association of Kenya Chair Peter Mrima says the possibility of a toll stations along major roads would mean Kenyans are double taxed, and that would be also double taxed for infrastructure that does not reflect the revenue it accrues for taxpayers. And as he backside now reports, the representatives for private and commercial vehicles and drivers say public participation for the sector before policy and regulation changes is barely used, leading to avoidable mishaps. The joint statement comes after Roads and Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen hinted at the possibility of tolling major roads for additional revenue collection.
About a week ago, Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen listed several roads earmarked for expansion and tolling across the country, aimed at raising more funds for the development of the very same roads. The project, he said, was meant to cost the government about 700 billion shillings, but would quickly begin adding to the ever-growing sources of revenue for the government. However, this proposition didn't sit well with many players in the industry.
So we want to say here and state categorically as stakeholders that our roads should remain public. And we are not going to allow roads to be run by private companies. Public roads are very important because they provide what you call freedom of movement, which is a constitutional right.
The overhead expenses of doing business in this country is scaring. You can't put food on the table because when fuel prices went up from 8% to 16% VAT, that crippled our operations. So as operators, we are asking the government to review that move. It is punitive. It does not make economic value.
The idea of tolling such major roads, they say, would mimic the road levy paid for in fuel, which already is meant to cater for the repair and expansion of roads.
The law states very clearly that when you provide a toll road, you should have an alternative for the users who doesn't want to use that. So it should be optional. But now the option we are being given, it is neglected. And that is why we fear when we are told that we are going to use the feeder roads, where our public road will be taken, and then we will be left to use the feeder roads.
The levy has gone up so high that it is hurting the mwananchi and the common man who drives. Not just the private drivers, but even the commercial. All of them are at pain.
Furthermore, they say the doubling of fuel VAT was already eating into profits, despite the expectation for fuel prices to come down, given the price per barrel of fuel internationally.
It was trebled to 18 shillings, staggering a whopping 18 shillings per litre. So if you count the fuel VAT, fuel levy, and then the toll roads, that will break the camel's back, definitely.
Dysfunctionality in the TIM services that was recently moved to the eCitizen platform was also a deterrent that they wanted addressed in their 21-day ultimatum.
As an association, we are petitioning the Director General NTSA that notice should be effected so that we do not have a total collapse from the TIM system to the eCitizen platform.
They now want the Roads and Transport Ministry to address these issues, lest they are forced to take drastic actions on the same. Now players in the transportation sector are giving a 21-day ultimatum to the government to address the issues that they have brought forth, otherwise revenue generation will be compromised. Hibak Said for TV47 Nairobi.
Thank you, Hibak, for that report. Time now for a short commercial break. When we come back, we have more on the other side. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Daily Report. People's Court is up next shortly. Remember, we are looking at the aftermath of the Embakasi fire. But before then, let's look at the sports news and get sporty. Jasmeet Chana is one of the top Kenyan drivers who will participate in the 2024 Safari Rally, which also doubles up as the third round of the World Rally Championship WRC. Chana is fresh from clinching the national rally title and is gearing towards rubbing shoulders with global superstars. We visited his Nairobi workshop as he prepares his new car for the race to be held over the Easter weekend.
On end, it's the power stage at Safari.
Kenya has a strong lineup in the 2024 WRC Safari Rally, and Jasmeet Chana is one of the flag bearers. The 46-year-old Nairobi-based driver will be making his fourth appearance in the global competition. Iceman, as he is commonly referred to, will upgrade from his Mitsubishi Evolution 10.
So the car has been ready. For the Safari now, after the first Eldoret rally in February, is when we'll strip it down. But at the same time, we might upgrade for the Safari. So right now we are hanging in between 50-50, but hopefully everything goes well and we should have a new car.
Chana will be navigated by his elder brother Ravi Chana, who played a big role in the 2023 Kenya National Rally Championship title.
We actually, tested our waters and drove 100%, and the results showed. Yes, you can't fight with an R5 with an Evo. But we fought well and the fruits were well, and yes, we proved a point that we can be recognized as well.
He is still getting to grips in his new car, and his goal is to bring it back in one piece. The race will be held over the Easter weekend from March 28th to March 31st. Cars will zoom off from Kenyatta International Convention Center and traverse Nairobi, Kiambu, Nyandarua and Nairobi counties.
I mean, Easter is good. The kids can go watch. They don't have to Skype school. And yes, it comes back to the old days where we start from KICC, during Easter. It's a big thing for us local guys.
Tony Kwalanda, TV 47.
Thank you, Kwalanda, for that. Ugandan golfer Ronald Rugumayo exhibited exceptional skill and determination, maintaining his lead after the third round by shooting an impressive 2 under par at the current country club. Rugumayo's consistent performance throughout the tournament solidifies his position with an aggregate score of 15 under par. Dismas Indiza and Mutahi Kibugu are now second and third. Tomorrow marks the culmination of this thrilling event and the conclusion of the Safari Tour series as the top 8 local professionals and 3 foreign players will be announced. These elite golfers will have the honor of participating in the tournaments that will later follow.